Welcome back to Joshua chapter 6. After Joshua has found that the gates of Jericho are shut against him and the Israelites, the word of the Lord came to Joshua in verse 2, I've given you Jericho, its kings, and all its strong warriors. So here's the call of God, taking Joshua to a place of obedience and coming up against this impasse of a closed city. And then God speaks to him and says, I've given you this city, its king, and all its strong warriors. I have a plan and a purpose for you in this situation, despite the fact that everything seems closed and against you, and despite the fact that everything from a common sense point of view says, no. Actually, my call on you is still as true as it ever was, and I am going to give to you this city. It would take a miracle. But of course, God is and always has been and still remains the God of miracles. God is the one who loves to take an impossible situation and turn it around. It's the same God who took the Israelites out of Egypt to the Red Sea. And all of a sudden, the Israelites, who were so full of faith to leave Egypt, are realizing that there's a sea in front of them. There's Pharaoh's army behind them. They're stuck in the middle. What can they do? An impossible situation. And yet God delights in messing up our perception of what's impossible with his possibility. And I believe that for some of us, as we're listening to this today, we need to be reminded that God has given us certain things. It may not be a city, it may not be a king, it may not be warriors of an opposition to us that God has given to us, but he's giving us things as part of his call on our lives. They may not be possessions. It could be that God has brought you into a situation, and I believe this is really true for some of us as we listen to this, that we're being called to bring breakthrough, to release people who are shut up tight. And God is going to give us that breakthrough, not so that we can say, well, we've had a breakthrough, or we've brought a breakthrough to other people, but so that people can be released, so that people can be set free. See, God's heart is for people to walk in freedom. And it's a freedom that may or may not result in material gain, but it's a freedom that more than anything else is to do with our heart being set free and our heart before the Lord being open to everything that he has for us. It may mean that we lose everything else, but we have Jesus. So I want to challenge you and encourage your thinking on this, that God may take you into a situation where his call is clear, the way forward is obscure, and yet he's promised that you will be the bringer or the facilitator of his grace and his mercy and his victory. And that may look different than you anticipated. See, this is the great challenge, I think, for us as Jesus followers. We have this call of God. We have in our minds the way it will be. And as we get up to that particular obstacle, we look at it and we think, well, this is not what I imagined at all. And then there's the question, do we still trust God? What if trusting God brings us into a different realization of the call of God than we pictured? I wonder if Joshua thought that Jericho would be quite open and inviting. I don't know. Maybe not. It's possible, though. And it could well be that God is calling you into an environment where what you see with your eyes is so different than what you pictured. And yet God is still God. And he's calling you to trust him despite what you can see. And you may feel that God has given you a word that certain things or people will be given to you in the same way that Joshua received that word from the Lord. Or it could simply be a vague sense of this is the way of God. I need to walk in it. I need to walk through. I need to come to the other side. Either way, God's promises are yes and amen. God's promises never change. The reality of our struggle with this is not so much God's promises changing, but the outcome being different than we pictured. And if that's the case for you, I want you to simply say to God, look, this is not what I envisaged. And God will probably say, I know it's not. And then you can simply say to him, give me your view of how this looks. Give me your perspective. And I'm going to walk in that. Even if it's different than I thought, I'm still going to trust you. And I'm still going to go forward. for the honor of your name. Amen.